Hey, what's up? My name is Dr. Pai, and I'm making this video for those who didn't make it to the information session. I'm here to talk to you about our student tour with EF. The company that runs the tour is called EF, and the tour we are heading to Italy in May of 2019. So I'll go over where we're going and what we'll be doing in each of those cities, and also some details of the tour. And so hopefully this will help you make decisions about, or get to know this tour a little bit more, and then make decisions about whether you think this tour is something that you might want to do. Okay, so EF, how it works is that I am a faculty member. I'm a full-time faculty member of CSUN. So I am a faculty member who organizes our group here at CSUN, and the tour is actually run by EF. EF stands for Education First. They are a huge tour company specializing in working with university faculty and university students. So I've been working with them for the past 5 years. This is going to be my 6th year going to a tour with EF. And I've done different programs with them, going to Spain, Italy, Greece, and France. And I picked this program to Italy because, for one thing, I love Italy. Italy is just an amazing place, and it's unlike anywhere else in the world. There's so much history, there's so much art, there's so much good food, and there's so much great wines, and the weather is beautiful. And each of the places that we're going on this tour, they are perhaps those places on earth that are just so special that you can't find anything that is even close. Like I said, I've been working with them for more than 5 years, and I'm working with them again and again and again because they run a very good program. And previous years, students, when they come back, many students actually they repeat with EF again, doing other programs. So how it works is that we have our own group from CSUN, and then because the size of our group, unless we get more than 20 something people, we get consolidated with other university groups on the same tour, because it's a group tour, and unless we have 20 something people, and we never get that many people to go. So we get consolidated with other university groups, and mostly they are university students your age, from different states and different areas of the United States. And then we go together as a group. And once we get there, we meet the tour director. EF, they have traveling professionals. They supply the traveling professionals, and the tour director, he is the person who manages the entire tour, and he stays with us the entire time to help us handle any issue, and then to make sure everything goes as well as possible. And so most days we wake up, we have breakfast, breakfasts are included, and then we go on a tour, usually in the middle of the city, to see something that is very important, maybe a cathedral, or maybe the city square, walking tour, and then pointing out all the important artworks and the history, and everything that is fantastic about each of those cities. And then most days, the afternoon, we are free to go wherever we want, and then free time. And so I've been to Italy. This is my sixth time going to Italy, so I know those places quite well, and so I can help you to plan, that free time and where you want to go and what you might want to see. We are university students and we're all adults, so it's not like high school that you have curfews and you are being chaperoned all the time. We don't do that. The group activities, yes, as much as possible, we want to go together as a group. Well, and for another thing, because you pay for those activities. But otherwise, there's a lot of freedom in the tour, that you can do whatever to enjoy the place. Of course, within reason, right? And of course, it wouldn't be a good idea to drink too much, party too much, so that you miss the next day, or you miss the bus, or you create problems. So the thing is that if we there's a lot of freedom within reason, and behaving like adults, and but I personally think it's a real nice balance between a guided tour and a self a tour that you go by yourself. So, like I said, the freedom is one of the reasons why I keep doing this. Whether, if I get chaperoned all the time, then it wouldn't be fun at all. So our requested departure date is the 21st of May. 21st of May, that's 2 days after. I assume most of you are watching this. I assume most of you are looking at from the CSBS. Some, if you're graduating, that's after the commencement. The commencement, everything ends on the 20th, and most commencement exercise they happen before the 19th, and so it shouldn't be a problem. Now the requested departure date, because like most travel companies, because we want a little bit of flexibility. So if it's very, very likely that we get to leave on the 21st, but just in case, if there were other problems with other tours, then we might leave a couple of days later, or not earlier, but there is a slight possibility. And if that happens, I mean, our program is the same. It's just the departure date that might get shifted a couple of days after. But I'm pretty confident that we are leaving on the 21st, because it's a really popular program and a lot of people are going. So it shouldn't be a problem. But we're leaving on the 21st of May, and we are coming back on the 30th of May. And for those of you who are interested in extending your stay in Europe, I mentioned that there are some gateways in Europe that you can extend your stay, and then is no extra charge, or $50. So you should definitely take a look and see if you want to stay in Europe a little bit longer, so that you enjoy the place, right? And for those of you who are interested, you're more than welcome to talk to me about that, and I'll give you more information on extending your tour. And I've been to quite a few places to Europe, so I can give you some more information on that too. So, like I said, they are EF. They are a gigantic company, and tons of people are traveling with them. So it's not like those. So you can relax and make sure that and be sure that you have a lot of support. You have all the information you need, and if in case of emergency, knock on wood, that everything would be taken care of. So our program, we fly into Venice. There are no direct flights from LA to Venice, so we'll take a transit somewhere. Last year we took our transit in Chicago, and we had about an hour and a half to transit to our flight to Venice. It's a pretty long flight for those of you who are not used to it. From LA to Chicago is about 3 hours, and then from Chicago to Venice is about 9 hours. So you get some rest. And if the program runs like last year, we get there in the morning and then we start. So it's a good idea to get some rest on the flight, because once we get to Italy, it's very exciting and we want to get started, right? So we stay in Venice for 2 days, and then we have a tour bus that goes with us. We have the same tour bus the entire time. So from Venice, we take the bus to Florence, and it's just going to be our group, and then from Florence to Rome. And in Florence, you have the option of taking an additional day trip to Pisa. Pisa is where the Leaning Tower is, and I have never been to Pisa because I'm not interested in looking at Pisa, the Leaning Tower. But you have the option to take that day trip. Italy is actually really small as a country compared to California per se. So the day trip to Pisa, the high-speed train, is like an hour. And of course, you are guided, and the tour director will go with you to Pisa. And then for those who are not going to Pisa, then actually you have the entire day in Florence on your own. And it's fabulous because there are tons of things to do in Florence. Or if you want to go to another city, last year I took a day trip to Siena, another medieval town, and it's very close and it's very convenient, and I can help you with maybe planning and doing some other suggestions. So from Florence, we stay there, and then we take a detour and stop by a town called Assisi. We'll look at pictures, and then lastly we go to Rome. And Roma, that's the capital. That's where the Roman Empire was. And then from Rome, then the tour ends. So we fly into Venice. Venice is, what can I say, it's a special place. It's just like the movies. If you find a little corner, and if you look at the canal, and it just looks like what you see in the movies. Venezia, is a completely man-made city. So it's a bunch of artificial islands that were built inside a lagoon. And once it was one of the most affluent, richest cities on earth. So you can see that wealth still the beautiful buildings and all the art and so on and so forth. What you're looking at the pictures is the Grand Canal, and then there are no cars because it's basically an island, and it's quite small, and people travel by boats. Those boats and water taxis and Vaporaro. Vaporaro are the water bus. It's a lot of fun to take those buses and to go around Venice. And then with the weather, once in a while there's a little sprinkle, but otherwise it's just beautiful. The light, something about Italy, that light. And there is a gondola ride included, and then there are other options available. The other thing about Venice is that it's famous for glass making. So the glass blowing, they have different artisans have been working there for hundreds of years, and we'll see a short demonstration of how they blow glass and glassware and stuff like that. And the pictures they're real. It really looks like that, Venice. And then this is the St. Mark's Square, Piazza San Marco. The top picture is a painting, and the bottom picture is a photograph, and it really looks like that. Well, a little bit more crowded during the day, but otherwise, it really looks like that. And in the background, that's the St. Mark's Cathedral. And then right next to it, That's the Doge's Palace. The Doge's Palace, it's like the Duke's Palace, and inside is amazing. I've never seen anything like that. Filled with paintings, because back then they were so rich, so they want to cover all the walls with artwork. And to visit the Doge's Palace, a ticket is included, and so it's included in the fees, and so you don't have to pay extra. And when we get there, there's going to be a walking tour, and guided by each city. There'll be walking tours guided by local experts. Most of them are either artists or historians or teachers. So they know a lot about all these different cities and the history, and very, very interesting stuff. And we'll spend the morning with a tour guide, and then there'll be lunch. I know several places, really good places to eat, and I can help you, figure it out where you might want to go. And then the afternoon, the rest of the day, you can actually explore Venice on your own. It's an amazing place, and seriously, it's just something amazing and different from anywhere else on earth. So from Venice, we go to Florence, Firenze. Florence, for those of you who study Renaissance history, Michelangelo, Da Vinci, Dante, all of them worked in Florence. Now the top picture, that's the cathedral of the city, and what they call Duomo, the dome. And it's a feat of engineering, and there are tons of shops, there are tons of restaurants, and tons of places to have a drink, and it's a beautiful place. And there's just so much art, there's so much history, and walking through the city is just it makes you think about the world differently. So in Florence, we'll spend 3 days, and there'll be again in the morning walking tour, and the next group of pictures. Now on the left, most of you would recognize that's a statue of David. We're going to see the real one. There's a copy. I wouldn't call it fake, but they made a copy, and they made the copy and put it in the middle of the square, and the tour guide will tell you why they made a copy. So the real one is actually housed in an art museum to protect the statue from the weather, because it's such an important piece of art. And the visit to the museum is included in the tour. And the other two are my favorite statues in town. And the middle one is Perseus with the head of Medusa. For those of you who know the Greek mythology, Medusa is the monster with the snakes as hair, and Perseus is the hero that cut off the head. And this statue is one of my favorite objects on earth. It's just so beautiful to look at. And the next one is John Bologna's the abduction of the Sabine women. It just so much art. There's just so much art everywhere, and you look at the place, and it's amazing. And of course, Florence is also famous for wine, and I know a couple of wine stores. For those of you interested in wine, they do little wine tastings, and really special wines from that region of Tuscany. Tuscany is considered one of the best wine regions in the world. Most of us heard of Bordeaux, and then Tuscany is pretty much the Bordeaux of Italy. And so I enjoy it so much. It's just ridiculous. And then from Florence, we'll take the bus and take a day trip out to Assisi. So for those of you who are Catholic, you know St. Francis. And St. Francis if you look at the top picture, the big structure on top, that's the cathedral. And St. Francis is buried in the crypt, so the basement of the cathedral. And it is included. We go to the cathedral, and then you'll see tons of Catholic pilgrims, to pay a pilgrimage to St. Francis. And then the picture on the right, that's a little hilltop on top of the town of Assisi. Assisi is a little medieval wall town. There are tons of nice little restaurants, pizzerias, and then you can grab a panini. And there are tons of shops to sell souvenirs. It's a really fun day to walk around a medieval city, or you can take that short hike. It's about 15 minutes to go to the top of the hill to look around a panoramic view of the region of Umbria. Inside the cathedral, you'll see the mural, the bottom picture. On the wall, you'll see the work of another very, very, very important painter by the name of Giotto. Giotto was one of the early Renaissance painters that really changed the way how art looked forever. And so it's it's a great opportunity for those of you who are interested in art to see all this stuff in one shot, from Venice to Florence and to Assisi and then to Rome. And it's almost like an introduction to Renaissance art, because we're seeing some of the most important work that that it's so important in the way we look at the world. So from Assisi we go to Rome, and then Rome we spend half a day at the Vatican. So we'll go through the Vatican Museum, and then we'll go to the top picture. That's St. Peter's Square. And in the background, that's the Basilica of St. Peter. And that's where the Pope holds Mass. And we're going there. We're going there, and we will spend quite a bit of time inside, and a lot of history, and learn about what the basilica is like, and of course the Roman Colosseum, the Colosseo, and we'll go there. We'll actually get to spend time inside the Colosseum. And then the bottom is a Roman Forum. That's basically the Washington, D.C. of the Roman Empire. And you can see the columns of some of the most important temples that's still there since before Christ. So, and inside the Vatican, of course, one of the most important things that we'll see is the Sistine Chapel, Cappella Sistino. And if you look at the middle of the picture, that's the famous painting, or should I say fresco, of David and God, the finger pointing thing. And yes, we get to go to the Sistine Chapel, and we spend some time there and look at the ceiling painted by Michelangelo, and it's amazing. And in the chapel, on another wall, he came back 10 years later. He was hired by another pope to paint the Last Judgment. That's another piece of my favorite artwork in the world. So we'll see that. And then another work by Michelangelo. This one is pretty amazing. He did that when he was 16, Pietà. That's the Virgin Mary and the body of Jesus. And this statue is housed inside the St. Peter's Cathedral, Basilica of St. Peter's, and we'll see that too. And then another thing is just another one of my favorite art. It's a piece of art rediscovered from ancient Greece, and they didn't even know who made it, and they discovered it, and they took it to the Vatican Museum, and that's where it stays. So yeah, the tour, it's really amazing, and we get to see a lot of fantastic stuff. Some of the most important stuff in human history. And like I said, the best part is that it's pretty balanced between a guided tour and like traveling on your own. So what's included? The airfare, it's included. And then hotel rooms, we're looking at student rooms of triple rooms. So 3 students will share a room. And then the bilingual tour director, they are all fantastic professionals. I've worked with 5 of them, and they are all very, very knowledgeable and very, very helpful. And so they work very hard to make sure that we have a good time. And then transportation, like I said, for the most part, we'll have that one tour bus that stays with us the entire time, from city to city, and then inside the city. Venice is all boat, right? Because there are no cars. And then Florence is relatively small, but Rome is where we need a tour bus. We definitely need a tour bus because it's quite big. They have a subway system, but a subway system, they only have 2 lines, and they'll explain why they only have 2 lines. It's quite interesting. It's not as bad as LA Metro, but it's interesting to ride the subway in another country. And then the itinerary, the program, like I said, it's very interesting. There's a lot to learn, and it's amazing, and tons to show off to your friends later on. Trust me, you'll have enough time to take pictures, and make sure that you get your Instagram taken care of, right? You fill your Instagram. And then the tours and activities, that's included. And then breakfast, all breakfasts are included. Every day we'll get breakfast, group breakfast, and most of the time it's a small little continental buffet. And lunch is on our own. But like I said, actually, people have this misconception about traveling in Italy. If you don't eat expensive, it's actually very affordable. The food is very affordable and is very good. And the bread and the cheese and little things is just so delicious. And then 3 dinners. We have 3 group dinners. They're included. They're all pretty good. Last year, the best one, we had steak dinner in Florence, and that was fantastic. And if you have other ideas, if you want to find different dining options, you're more than welcome to talk to me, and I will help you. Maybe think about where you want to go. I have some recommendations, and maybe help you make reservations or something like that. All right. And then, like I said, EF is huge, so they have staff 24/7. I mean, just in case if you have a cell phone, then they have great travel support. And also, because I've been there quite a few times, I know how things work quite well. I can also give you additional support, right, to answer questions and do some planning and some other stuff. Okay. And then the other things that you might need is a passport. Make sure that your passport is valid, and make sure that it's valid 3 months after your arrival or return day. It's a standard airline policy that that your passport is still valid 3 months after you come back. Because some people change their minds and then they stay longer, so the airline want to make sure that you always have a valid passport. And then if you bring additional baggage, well, every person has 2 pieces of check-in baggage, but my advice is travel light, and you see what I mean. And lunch and snacks, that's on you. And yes, it's great because over there it's a different culture, and they Yeah, it's perfectly fine to have a little glass of wine in late afternoon and just watch life goes by. The sun is setting and you are looking at a gorgeous cathedral and have a glass of wine and just watch people, run around and yeah. And some spending money. Like I said, things are actually quite cheap, and their economy, unfortunately, is not doing well. So the exchange rate, it's in our favor. Right now is about €1 to $1 and 12 cents. So it was a lot worse a few years ago. Now it's actually really affordable. And how to get money, how to bring money, that's something that I can help you with. Tips for your tour director, because they work very hard and their income, so a big part of it is from tips. So usually we tip the tour director in addition to the standard programs. It's usually I forgot. So okay, so it's about 50 euros per person for the entire trip. Okay, and I'll go over all this stuff later on during a pre-departure meeting. And we still have some space available with the tour, but the deadline for enrollment is coming up. So it's February 15th. That's the deadline, next Friday. Just in case, you can still sign up after the deadline, but it gets more expensive because just like when you buy an airline ticket, it gets more expensive when it gets closer to the departure. All right. So if you're interested, on screen you'll see the tour number, and I'll include the web address to EF in the email to see if that helps. And of course, you're more than welcome to contact me if you have any questions so that I can answer. All right. So hopefully this is helpful, and then I hope to see you on the tour. And well, as they say in Italy, ciao.